Hello. This is episode 3 of the real estate investing series. And today I have my buddy here, my partner, my husband joining me. He's been very busy doing a lot of different things around here. And so he wasn't able to join me on the first couple of episodes, but we decided to carve in some time, even though he's still working on a project. He's going to sit down with us today.
Yes.
And we're going to be talking about buying REOs.
Yes. REOs is real estate owned property or bank owned property.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to get into a number of different things. And the last thing we're going to cover in this particular video will be our strategy. But first, we're just going to go over some highlighted things that we wanted to talk about.
Yes.
When buying bank-owned or REO properties.
Yeah, one thing I want to say is you got to keep in mind that a bank-owned property, when a bank gets a property, they usually get the property back from someone who probably couldn't afford to make the payments, and they end up losing the property or whatever it was foreclosed on. And so these bank-owned properties, when the banks get these properties, they really don't want these properties in their books. You know, they want to get rid of them as quickly as they can, because guess what? Especially depending on the area, some of these properties can get vandalized, or people can break in and steal things out of the property. So the banks are kind of like, yeah, we want to get rid of this property. We don't want to keep it. We want to get somebody in there. And then what if they have to take care of the property? They don't want the grass to get too long and things like that. And so they have to kind of keep the property looking nice too. So banks don't want that job.
Right. That's why bank-owned properties can be a hot commodity.
Yes.
Whether you're trying to get into this as an investor,
yes,
or you're trying to find a primary residence.
Yes.
So it doesn't just have to be for those who are trying to become real estate investors, although
yes,
your own home is an investment.
Yes.
It could also be for someone who is trying to just get their first home. A bank-owned property
yes,
is the way to go if you know what to do.
Yes.
And so the first thing we're going to talk about is finding these properties.
Yes.
There are a number of different ways to find bank-owned properties.
Yes, it is. You have your real estate list. You could look at various places where you can get these real estate lists on the internet. You know, there are some in newspapers and other places.
Yeah, when we would go, we had a number of different sources. Once we got into it, we sought out sources.
Yes.
And one of the main sources was, at the time, it was the Detroit newspaper, because that was our
yes,
market. And so they would have listed right there, big bold letters, foreclosure, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we would look for properties. Of course, we would look for prices too, because we were already aware of certain market values for
yes,
certain areas. We would say, okay, this house is X amount of dollars in this area, so we automatically knew it
yes,
might be a bank-owned property. That's not the case all of the time, but a lot of the time it is. And so the newspaper is going to be a good source. Of course,
yes,
the internet. And then once you find, here, get this, most REO properties are listed with a local real estate agent.
yes,
And so once you find the agent of a particular REO, 9 times out of 10, they have some type of contract with the bank that is giving them that property to list, and they probably get them all of the time.
Yeah, they probably have a list of properties, so that might not be that's not going to be the only property that they have, and so that's an excellent source. I mean, this person, you get in close to a person like that's a real estate agent, and they get these lists of properties. Guess what? That person can call you and tell you, hey, look here, I got several properties you might want to take a look at. You'll be the first one to get the information if you get close enough to them, you know. And so that's the way you want to go. You want to get close enough to where you can get firsthand pick at these properties.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what we did.
Yes.
We had agents when we were in Southeast Michigan. We had agents who knew to call us before they called anybody else.
Yeah.
You know, they said, let's call these two, because they would take on a project like this. You know, some people are afraid of certain projects,
yes,
and we know how much we can do. We do, and we have bitten off more than we can chew. We'll talk about that later. when we talk about the apartment building that we bought, but that's a whole other video, a whole other subject. So it is a such thing as biting off more than you can chew.
Yes.
But with houses, we had already determined what we can handle.
Yes.
So we just kind of knew what to do and where to look and all of that. And so the next thing we want to talk about with REO properties is analyzing them. Once you set that initial appointment to go and see a house or a few houses, you want to have a few things in mind when you are going there to the property.
Yes.
You want to do some homework to determine the values of the homes in that area to even see if it's worth it. A good example is if the market value of the homes in that area of similar homes is like $65,000 and the house is being sold for like $50,000, that's not a good investment. You know.
Exactly. You want to make sure you're getting a good deal. You know, like sometimes we would go through what's the website? Realtor.com.
Yes.
Would have REOs listed also, and so you can kind of get a feel for it, especially on a site like that, because you can look around and say, well, wait a minute, properties are going about this amount of money, this amount in this area, and so you kind of get a feel for what they're worth. You know, you want to make sure you're getting a good deal. You know, if it's an REO and the bank-owned property, like my wife said, if the houses in the area are going about $100,000, then you want to get that property cheap. You want to get it probably half off if you can. $50,000. Right. That's the kind of deals you want to look for. You know.
Now it's okay to get a property. If it's $50,000, you're getting it for $35,000. If you're going to make that your primary residence,
yes. If you're going to live there, it's a different story.
So you've bought into equity, and you're like, okay, I'm going to get it at a discount because it may need some work done to it. But if you're getting it as an investment, that is just too close.
It's too close. Yeah.
The only way that's a good price, let me just correct that too. The only way it's a good price is if there's nothing wrong with the house.
Yeah, you ain't got no work.
Right.
Other than just going in painting
and cleaning up.
If it's just painting and cleaning up, then it's worth it. Then if it's a $35,000 house are worth $50,000 or $60,000, then that's cool. You know, that's a good deal.
Because we did see a house like that one time down south. There was a house that was pretty much a new house, and it was sitting on a lot of land. And it had beautiful landscape. It had a beautiful pond, little hookup in the. Oh my goodness, it was beautiful. And the value was definitely there. The problem with the house, it was filthy.
Yeah.
It was a lot of junk and garbage left there. You could still tell it was a new house. Yeah. It just fell into the hands of some trifling people. That's all. Yeah. Okay, but we were able to see beyond this. Say, wow, this is a fairly new house. It has a beautiful wraparound porch. Look at the land. Yeah. I think it was like 13 acres. Had a beautiful pond with koi. I mean, it was absolutely stunning.
It had a powered barn. I mean, a huge barn. You know,
but the house was filthy, and the barn, they left a lot of junk in there too. And so we knew automatically. We said, okay, the market value is the value is definitely there in the market.
They were only asking about how much for that house.
I think it was $67,000.
$67,000. And
it was worth about $150.
It was worth about $150. That deal was in, but before we could even get a word in, called the realtor. We left the place, called the realtor. He told us we can go on in there and check it out. We went in and checked it out. As soon as we got back in the car, called him again. He said, "Oh, we got a buyer already." We were like,
now, see, with this one,
man.
At that time, this was some time ago. This is when we were looking to sell our previous home and buy more land. So we were not looking at that as an investment. We were going to go in there and do what we had to do, clean it up, and move there.
Yes.
You see? And so when we saw that, we were like, man, after you clean all this mess out of here, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. All this stuff and junk that these people left behind. The house also had a ton of mice in it. I mean, you could see the mice just walking up on the curtain rods and all that kind of stuff. And so we knew that we would have to do a clean overhaul in there because of all the garbage and junk that was left in there. We were going to go in with masks.
They had chiggers. Remember those chiggers?
It was something going on in the house. We knew we were going to have to go in there, fumigate and do all kinds of things. But we saw the fact that it was just a house owned by some trifling people that just needed to be cleaned out.
And I'm telling you.
No,
go ahead.
I was going to say, at the most, the cleanup with renting containers and stuff like that, with us doing the work ourselves, probably would have been less than $1,000.
Yes, and I'm telling you right now, most people, okay, when they see something like that, they just they can't wrap their brain. It's just cleaning up. But when you see all that mess, I'm telling you, even the bankers, when they go and see all that mess and see all this, it just I don't know what happens, but they to them it's like it's garbage. It's just garbage.
They lower the value,
and when it's just cleaning up. But I've seen houses that may have a roof problem, and they don't be that bad. But sometimes when a house is really messy, oh man, I'm telling you, you can get them super cheap.
Yeah, so we learned how to look at how the banks view things. They just don't want to deal with it.
Yes.
Okay, and so. Market value of the area, that was one thing that you want to determine.
Yes.
And can you do the work? We touched on that when we said that this particular house was just a cleanup job, right?
Yeah.
And so we already knew we could do that kind of work. Even if it needed replacing of floors, replacing of some walls and things of that nature. These are things that are very easy and simple that we could have did ourselves.
See, we can do that. So see, here's the thing you got to look at, right? Okay, let's say you see a house and the value of it is perfect for you. You say, man, I'm getting it more than half of what the value of it is, and I could I can stand to make some good money on this if I flip it or if I'm going to flip the property, right? Mm-hmm. Well, let's say the house is worth $100,000, you get it for $50,000, right? You say, okay, that's cool, but the house needs a roof, and you say to yourself, okay, it needs a roof, and then you go down basement and it has foundation problems, right? Well, then you're saying, well, I'm not going to do that work. I can pay somebody to do that work. Okay, but now if you pay somebody to do that work, guess what? Now that cost can get up there. You could be spending close to $20,000 to get that roof and to fix that foundation.
Yes.
Not to mention if you got other work that need to be done in the house, because if it's a roof leak, guess what? It's going to be floor problems, no doubt. There's going to be ceiling problems. All that stuff's going to need to get repaired, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to keep all that stuff in mind. So the cost can get up. So now that because you got to pay somebody to do that work, now that ain't even worth it anymore. Right. But if you know how to do that work and you go in, now you still got a good deal. Because get this here. Let's look at plumbing, for instance, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say we purchase a house and the house needs plumbing. And I say to myself, well, I'm a plumber. I could do the plumbing, right? Mm-hmm. Well, plumbing parts, literally, you can get enough stuff to plumb a whole house for under $500. Literally, that's how cheap the stuff is, right? So,
depending on the size of the house.
Yeah, depending on the size of the house, though. But you going in and you replacing pipes and doing all that kind of stuff. I can go in and do that stuff for under $500 and get most of the plumbing fixed. Literally, it don't be that bad to spend that kind of money on plumbing. Mm-hmm. It usually be $100 or $200, okay? But let me explain something to you, though. I'm doing the work, so it's cheap. Now, a plumber will come in. He's still going to spend only about $200 in parts or whatever, right? But his cost going to be through the roof. He's going to be $2,500, $3,000, because we used to hire plumbers to... After a while,
he did it
after a while, I said, this ain't gonna work.
Now, keep in mind, when he's talking about plumbing parts, he's not talking about the toilets and the sinks and stuff like that, because that's a whole other element.
Right,
he's talking about the piping,
like the shut-off valves and the piping that goes in the drain pipes. Sometimes you may have to replace drain pipes and things like that. Mm-hmm. And so, but a plumber will come in. I'm telling you, their prices will be through. I had one little spigot that was coming from the shut-off valve coming from a toilet that I needed the plumber to fix one time, right? And I said, give me a price on that. And he came back, about $250. I said, $250? I said, I'm looking at it. I said, okay. I said, well, I'll let you know if I'm going to get it done. I went down basement, saw the pipe coming out as an elbow.
That was actually $375. I remember the job you were talking about.
That's right, it was $375. Let me tell you, I went down there, I saw the pipe going under the floor from the toilet, and I saw it coming up through the floor and hooked to the toilet. I saw what the leak was. I said, what's like a little straight pipe like this, an elbow going up there, a shut-off valve, and I said, let me go price this up. When price it up, the stuff cost me less than $20. Mm-hmm. I said, let me get me a wrench. I got me a wrench, took that thing, just put it on there. I said, man.
And it worked out.
I said, you know what? I just say $375. I said I'm gonna be doing this plumbing. I'm gonna learn this plumbing myself.
Yes.
Because it's like I said, that little. Now imagine if it was something major. I'm telling you, there are times when we were in real estate where we did pay plumbers to come in and do things, and their bills would be ridiculous. $2,500, $3,000. This is back in the days.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got to analyze yourself. If you can do the work, then you're going to save yourself a ton of money, and you're going to make a ton of money on that property because you're doing a lot of the work yourself.
Yeah, even with the electrical, we when we were back in Michigan, we had a brother who he was very reasonable.
Yes.
It was still kind of costly, but he was reasonable compared to other electricians. But again, that's another thing that Watchman learned how to do himself.
Yes.
So that's no longer something that we would have to pay someone for. So when you're buying REOs, you want to determine light fixtures. You might be able to do those, okay?
Yes.
But wiring, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But when you buy these properties, you want to make sure that this is something that you can afford to have done without chewing away at too much of the equity, or you can do it yourself.
Yes.
And that's going to be a major deciding factor on whether you should buy a property or not, and also what are you using it for. If it's again something you're going to live in, you may not care as much because you're not trying to necessarily get a profit. But if you're buying it as an investment, you don't want to buy something that costs too much, and you're still going to have a whole list of repairs that won't leave you any room for flipping and making a profit on the flip.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you go in these houses, let me explain something to you. When you go in these houses, you analyze these houses. Take a notepad with you, okay? Take a notepad, an ink pen, and go in and make a note of all the things you're gonna have to do to that house. Okay, man, it look like it's leaking here. I'm gonna have somebody check the roof right here. The rest of the roof look good, but right here we may have an issue here. The floor is buckling right here. We may have an issue there. Look like I'm gonna have to change the toilet out. Look like I'm going to have to change this out, change that out. You got to look at everything. If you're going to need to put down flooring, okay, you got to analyze make a list of all of those things so that when you come out and you make your offer, you got to give yourself a price for all that work that needs to be done. And that's how you make your offer.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. One thing about making an offer is you got to ask yourself, before you make that offer, how long has this property been sitting on the market?
Yeah, that's a big deal, and we'll get into why, because that is going to determine your next move. Yes, especially with an REO. Yeah. Sometimes a property might slip by some people, right? And so once that REO hits the market, in a very hot market, you're gonna have people on it like white on rice, right? And so if it's just on the market, you want to ask the listing agent. That's another thing. We like to get in touch with the listing agent on properties like this.
The listing agent.
Even if you have a realtor that you work with that makes all your offers for you, if it's possible, because sometimes it's not always possible because it might be a property that's a distance away. But if that's not the issue, you want to get in touch with the listing agent because the listing agent already has it in their mind that they want it double dip. Yeah. That in mind, they want to be the lister and the seller of the property, so they're going to get that double commission. That being said, that agent might, if they get an offer directly, and if they get another offer from someone else that has another real estate agent, they're going to push for the offer that they've submitted.
You hear that?
That's just the way it is.
That's how it is, yep.
Maybe it shouldn't be that way. Maybe it should be a fair process, but we know how these people think, and most of the time they want to be the lister and the seller, the buying and the selling agent. That being said, if you really like a property and you want that property, whether it's for your family to live in or as an investment, you definitely want to get in touch with the listing agent of that particular property and make your offer with them. Yes. Yeah. Now, there are some...
You could have a favorite real estate agent you like to work with, but I'm telling you, you better go directly to that listing agent and deal with that listing agent because, like my wife said, your agent that you deal with on a regular basis can go and make an offer for you, but that listing agent be like, yeah, I see that offer, but You know, I want somebody that's gonna come directly to me so
Right.
I can hit that double dip. You know.
It is what it is, y'all.
Yeah.
It is what it
Yeah.
is. We can't change the way these people operate in business.
Yeah.
When you know how they think, you have to understand that when you're entering into the process.
Yes.
Now there can be issues where the listing agent gets several offers of their own.
Yes.
Okay, where they themselves have 3 clients who have submitted offers to them. So at that point, it's like the best offer is going to win. Now, we've been in situations like that before as well. And they're not allowed to tell you what's going on with anybody else's offer.
Mm-hmm.
But do they always abide by that? No, they don't. Okay. Now, we ourselves, we don't ask. At the most, we'll ask, are there any other offers? And sometimes the agent will say, oh, yeah, we have several offers. So you want to submit your best offer. But we have had situations where an agent would have told us that the other person's offer is contingent on getting a bank loan. And so if you have cash for the offer or you have another funding source or whatever, you might do better. They may say something like that. They're not really supposed to tell you though what's going on with other buyers, but some agents do because they want to submit the best offer, because their goal too is to get it off of their books. They want to get these properties sold as quickly as possible. So with all of that being said, when you know how long a property's been on the market, you can determine too the best way to make an offer. Okay.
Yeah, because what if the property's been on the market for a year, a long time like that? That bank is looking in their books. They like, okay.
We got to get this one out.
We got to get this one out. And so you got to think about that, right? So then that means you could come down low, and they may accept your offer. And we've done that before too.
That was one of our strategies.
Yeah.
Right there. Okay, now this is where we're going to share one of our secrets with you.
Yeah.
When we have seen that a property has been on the market for a while, and it may have even experienced a price reduction, and we've done our homework, we've determined that the area is worth it, the house is worth it, we've looked at the work and every other thing that we talked about, our ability to handle this. When we've looked at all of that, Watchman and I, we were not afraid to lowball.
Yeah.
We would throw an offer so low at the bank because we already know how they think. We already know. And not having a lot of interest in the property, we would say, okay, I remember one particular property we wanted so bad. It was on LaSalle Boulevard in Detroit, in the Boston Edison area. Beautiful home, 3 stories. I can't remember how many bedrooms. I think it was 4 or 5 bedrooms.
It was 4 bedrooms.
But it was a beautiful home.
Beautiful.
Now, it did need some work. But it was a beautiful home. I remember we talked to our agent.
Listen.
He was the listing agent. And we got that ball. We said, low ball, $26,000. That's what we offered. Because we had a hard money lender at the time that we worked with. And so that a hard money lender, we're going to get into that in another topic.
That's another topic, yeah.
But this was a lender that's unconventional. This is like a private investor, and they don't have to go through all of these channels that banks go through to fund a project. If the numbers are right, they will fund it for you, right?
Yeah.
So because we already had a hard money lender we were working with, we lowballed so low on this property that our real estate agent was the listing agent on. We offered $26,000, which was way less than what they wanted.
Yeah.
And he calls us back. He says, "Hey guys, they accepted your offer."
$26,000. How much was the house worth?
That house was worth close to $100,000.
Probably more.
I think it was $118,000 at the time.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. $118,000. And if you've seen this house, it was a 3-story home, 4
Brick
bedrooms. Home. There was no bedrooms on the first floor, so it was a big, huge living room, dining room, huge kitchen with a pantry. I mean, it was just really a nice
A beautiful staircase.
Beautiful staircase. I mean, this was a beautiful home.
It
was. It was completely beautiful.
Now, Boston Edison, if you know that area, the homes right now are just off the charts. This was a long time ago, so that house is probably worth a whole lot more.
Oh, that house, I wouldn't doubt it if it's worth about $250,000 or more right now. That same house, yeah.
Yes, but anyway, we ended up getting it with a lowball offer.
Yes.
And so what you want to consider, you definitely want to consider all of the things, all of the points we talked about in this.
Yes.
Can you fix it up? Is it a good offer in terms of the area, the value? How long has it been on the market?
Yes.
All of this will help you to determine, can I give a lowball offer? Because sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
Sometimes a property is hot and it might have 4 or 5 people or more looking at it. Mm-hmm. That being said, you won't be able to lowball because you won't get seen. Yeah. Okay. They're going to go for the best offer. They don't always go for the highest offer. Mm-hmm. Let me explain that. They go for the best offer, meaning which one is going to close the fastest. Yeah. Because sometimes the highest offer is based on conventional financing. Yeah. We've run into that situation too, where another buyer was trying to get it through a conventional lender who's going to say, well, you know what, you might have to get an inspection done. This might have to be done, that, and this and this. Whereas a private investor, they go into it knowing that the property is going to need to be fixed up. And in some cases, they themselves will come and look at the property.
That's right.
And if you have an established relationship with them, they'll say, oh, you guys can handle this one. I've seen you handle worse than this before. So having private investors, that's a great thing as well. They still exist out here, but you just have to understand that investing in real estate for flipping or renting is different than getting a primary residence. You are going to have a higher interest rate, and the length of the loan is not going to be as long. So you want to be able to either finance out of it or pay it off within a reasonable amount of time.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So basically, like we said, you got to remember, there's different places where you can find these REOs. There's REO lists that you can find. There's websites like Realtor.com and other websites that list REO properties, bank-owned properties, foreclosed properties, actually. The newspaper and various real estate agents may have a list of properties too.
If you're familiar with books like Trading Times? It's a book that they used to have in Michigan, but it's like these little real estate books, or classified books. They didn't just have real estate only; it was cars and vehicles and stuff like that too. But some of these little publications that they have near newsstands will also have REO or foreclosed properties as well. Yes. So, with the age of the internet, a lot of this stuff is Googleable, so you'll be able to look it up. But anyway, keep in mind. Keep all of your resources very close to you. Come up with your own strategies as well. Yeah,
I've heard some people actually, if you knew somebody that worked at a bank and you knew them well, you can ask them, do your bank have any a list of properties that they foreclosed on? And you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
You see?
Yep. So we're not going to prolong this video anymore. We've said a whole lot here. There's so much to cover in the area of real estate investing. This is why we decided to do bits and pieces at a time, because we would be literally talking for hours if we tried to share all of the information. Yes. So breaking it up into segments is the best way for us to do this, so that you can refer back to what is of interest to you, because we're going to be talking about other things like buying land even. Yes. And so if someone is interested in buying land, they might not necessarily be interested in buying apartment buildings. Yes. So why put it all into one lengthy video? And so stay tuned. We're going to be talking about other subjects as well. But we're going to close this one out, and we hope we have said something that will be of value to you in your journey into real estate investing.
Yes.
Okay, we are done.
Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel, and also comment, share, like, and subscribe.